सो 51 में बात के लेंगे ना तीन तक लगन मैडम गुड मॉर्निंग It one thing I'm changing this change. South Goa Advocates South Goa Advocates South Goa Advocates Association. Begin.
राजधानी बेजार के
Capital को देखो.
All capital.
Yeah.
So this is opening. So I'm changing this. This will become South Goa Advocates Association. My channel. Great. This is backup है. So open करे तो data link. How to share it? Shiva.
Group angle.
No. Pull to data. So whatever I have done, you can see. Just see. Reference will be the thing of this. Good, how are you?
Sir, good morning.
No, I have to see now. Live Aman. Is something coming?
अच्छा blue screen की था.
I'm going down, huh? Just let me know. To the rescue, huh?
He's going to may be a moment of pain. नाम से ही बदनाम है, मौत तो नाम से ही बदनाम है, वरना असली तकलीफ तो जिंदगी ही देती है. Ladies and gentlemen, I read out the names of Advocate Bernard F. de Souza, Advocate Jose Pedro Budino, Advocate Narayan Desai, Advocate Prakash Gude, Advocate Albino Wallace, Advocate Ganraj Shilsa, Advocate Walter Pulaso, Advocate Gurudas Naik, Advocate Subhash Datta Nadkarni, Advocate Satish Chandra Talawekar, Advocate T.P. Sridharan, Advocate Lutz Putino, Advocate Lakshmikant K. Pai, Advocate Armando Barbosa, Advocate Joanna Fernandez, Advocate Rajiv Gomes, Advocate Judas Chagas Silva, Advocate Ashok Naik, Advocate Mark Menezes, Advocate Lindsay Dias, Advocate Kapil Kedkar. May I please request you to please stand up and observe 2 minutes silence. Thank you. May I request Advocate Tina Afonso to pay our respects to the departed.
We are gathered today to offer our tribute to all colleagues who have passed away during the last 2 years, and which the referendum which we used to usually have soon after the death of any of our colleagues, we were unable to do it because of our COVID restriction. Now there are altogether 23 colleagues of ours, which really shocked me when I got the list of all the advocates of South Goa itself. And all these advocates who are seniors, and some have also, some of them youngsters who have died due to COVID. Now I will not go into detail of each and every one because of the time constraint, but I will try and give little glimpses into each one, little bit, or one or two glimpses. Now, in the recently we have Mr. Jose Pedro Budino, who shocked us, who was there just one day in the court, and the next day we get the news that he has passed away. And that was really shocking. So all of us have to take care of our health. Now we'll take the first, our oldest advocate, Mr. Iris Robert Mishkita. Now, he was a simple, approachable, and helpful person. And one thing I would also like to add here is that even at this age, at the age of 80, he never wore spectacles. He could translate Portuguese documents even at this age without, and his eyesight was very super. Mr. Gilman Fernandez and Mrs. Joanna Fernandez, both husband and wife. Mr. Joanna Fernandez was one of the first lady advocate practicing in Goa, while Mr. Gilman Fernandez and both of them used to take matters together, both civil as well as criminal cases, and they did have a roaring practice. Now, Mr. Gilman Fernandez, I would just like to add is this, that whenever we used to observe him, he was very fiery and a real Kukolka, as he used to always say. That Mr. Gilman Fernandez, whenever he had cases against Mr. Velekar, who was his good friend, they used to fight like cats and dogs in the courts. But remember that whenever they used to be outside the courtroom, they were the best of friends. This we have to learn from them. Now, Mr. Bernard Souza, as you know, that he was a president of the association, and he was involved in many activities. And he was also the first criminal lawyer after liberation in Goa. Of course, I did not know about the crimes during the Portuguese time. But he was one of the first criminal lawyer in Goa, and he did have a roaring practice, and he was involved in many activities, especially in legal services, mediation, and he contributed a lot towards that. If I go to say I wouldn't finish all that, I'll just strike on a little bit. Mr. José Pedro Budino, he was another active person. Even today, that he was a president of St. Moriel Advocates Association, and took active part in many associations. And one thing I would like to add is this, that if he had, and he wanted, he could have authored a book on art of seeking a judgment. Now, Mr. Narayan Desai, he was also very much involved in politics and even other activities. He's contested elections and active in the practice also. And one thing I learned from Mr. Narayan Desai is that whenever we are active in so many activities, we should also connect to the nature, because he always used to go to his farm every weekend. And that is what we have to inculcate, especially when we are stressed out with all the work, connect with the nature. Then we have Mr. Prakash Pude, very much known for his objections to all the opponents, whatever it may be. He will object each and everything, which will give us an ability to always prepare our cases with real proof. And another thing I would like to add here is that Mr. Pude will never allow any candidate to be elected unopposed for our association. That every time he used to fight his nomination. That was one thing where we used to get a real excitement in the association, especially election time. Then, and Armand Barbosa. Borda Culasso was a Mamledar, and Armand Barbosa was also deputy collector. After retirement, they joined the practice. But at least this shows that even though we retire from other services, we have to carry on with a zest for life. Then we have Dhanaraj Sirsa, who was a notary also, and he was a warm person. Whenever we used to meet him in the courtroom or a bar room, he was always with a smiling face and very approachable. We have here Gurudas Naik, my classmate, my colleague, and of course he was one of the first person who died of COVID. And I would like to say here is that Mr. Tilak Dyers and he had such a close bond that they used to carry on cases together. And it is said in the corridors of the court that if you engage one advocate, you get the other advocate free. That was already said. Now, Subhash Datta Natkani, Satish Chandra Talaulikar, T.T. Sridharam, All these two are from Wasco and Subhash Datta Natkani from Marktown, who contributed their services, that is in notary, helping the people in notary work. Luz Coutinho, I was really shocked when I came to know that when she died of COVID, that after many months, and that is our fate during the COVID time, that we didn't even know who had passed away. So that is the thing we should keep in touch with each other. And I came to know about it only nearly 1 year after her death. Then Lakshmikant Kepwai from Tankona, he was a retired teacher, was there for some time, and he was practicing in Tankon. Sometimes he used to come to Marga. Rajiv Gomes, I don't have much to say. All of you all know what is his contribution as a president of an association. But one thing I would like to say about Rajiv Gomes is that by sheer determination and hard work, you can achieve anything what you want. Then we have Judas Chagas Silva. He was a jolly boy of our association. And once I remember when we had a picnic at Sunset Beach at the Kalbati, he came on mounting a pony right up from Benau to. It was something real fun when he was around. We miss him, of course. Ashok Naik was practicing in Vasco. Of course, he was my classmate. And he was also involved in any politics and other activities, very active. And of course, he has passed away again. A young age, I would call young age. Mark Menezes, another person to be considered as a person who had that much of fight in him. For 20 years, he was on dialysis. And in spite of the dialysis, he used to attend the court every time when the cases were. Thrice a week he used to go for dialysis. So that spirit of his has to be considered. Mincy Dias. Mincy Dias, I would call her as the most loyal, I would call junior assistant of advocate Joe Antang, who also passed away. Because once I was told by Mr. Antang that she used to conduct her own cases and she used to keep half the amount in his drawer. Something which I rarely hear. Kapil Kelkar. Kapil Kelkar was a young advocate. Of course, he died of heart attack. And his father is also an advocate. It's a sad thing that at young age we are losing our colleagues. And we have to also, considering this, take care of all of us. And we have to consider the health also. Considering this, actually I cannot believe that all these people are no longer there with us. But we have to go forward. And we have to live a life full of jest and full of life, and see that when we are in this profession, and we have to maintain a profession which is a noble profession with all the ethics and etiquette in this profession. And then at the conclusion I will say that by remembering all our colleagues, that we should all get together to pray that all their souls may rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Tina, for taking us to the journey of life. It's nice to see that even when we talk about death, we can still afford to smile. All our 23 players played their innings well. Some might have hit century, some might have scored a few runs. But as they say, every person has a role to play. What is important is you perform your role well. हर पेड़ को फल देना जरूरी नहीं है, हर पेड़ को फल देना जरूरी नहीं है, किसी की छाया भी बड़ा सुकून देती है. I now request Advocate Avdut Afsekar to pay our respects to our departed colleagues.
My dear colleagues and friends, today we are gathered here for altogether a different reason. A reason that we never thought that will be paying condolence to our 23 colleagues at a time. A reason to remember all our departed colleagues who had lost their life within a span of 2 years or 2 to 3 years during the COVID period. A reason to inculcate the good qualities and the behaviors of our departed colleagues. Now, as my colleague Tina had already pointed out, the qualities of each of the members or each of the soul, departed soul, I would restrict myself and restrain myself to few of them. Constraint is always there. Now, as far as Advocate Tilman Fernandez is concerned, everyone knows that he was a fiery and fiery person. Everyone knows to be his opponent that you have to listen to him and you have to get something in return. But still we used to enjoy it. We used to enjoy it because we could learn many things from it. That was the good part of it. Of course, Giuseppe Pedro, I have learned personally that even you can work on the last day before your death. It is not necessary saying that I am got old or age is a factor. As I have read, age is just a number, it's never a figure. You can change it. Then Prakash Bude. Prakash Bude was always a jovial one of our party. If I remember correctly, about 4 to 5 years prior to his death, he opted himself to play in a cricket tournament. That time it must be around 70s and above. And the best part of it, he got a prize being the eldest member of the team. And our colleagues, as usual, they made fun of him. And as a prize, they gave him a whiskey bottle. He was never drinking any whiskey. But then we made a fun of him and asked him, what are you going to do with that bottle? Give it to us. He said, no, I have to take it. And he took it home and it must be languished. Because even last few days, I saw it in his cupboard. That was a good thing about it. And of course, Sulidas Naik was my classmate. Ashok Naik was my classmate. They just both left us and at a young age. Then if one wants to learn something, that it is not that I'm a Julian or I am. Hard work, your hard work is always going to pay you, always going to bring a success to you. And this we can gather from our colleague Raju Williams. At a very young age, he had grown like this and he was doing quite well. So we cannot say that at young age what I will do in this world. If you are hard working, you are definitely good. Vinci Dias is another was always having a smiling face and used to be in contact with everybody. He used to always, if you have to end, if he has a name, if you have a name, was always ready for you. So, of course, I'm not pointing out others, that doesn't mean I don't want to, but time constraints makes me do it. president informed me that we are having a condolence meet of 23 advocates and you should be present only. I said, it's too late, man. They are expired more than 2.5 years now. I need to have them. He said, don't you think that we should remember them? I had no words to say. Further, he said, better late than never. And those are the words of our president, who is leading us today through all this. So, with great respect to the departed souls, I will say, rest in peace. And pray.
Thank you, Dr. Arsekar. When Advocate Prasad Naik told me about his intentions of starting his innings by hosting this condolence meet, I jokingly told him, do you want to get an injunction on further deaths during your tenure? He said, I would love to do it, but nobody is taking the wakalatnama. I request Advocate Prasad Naik to offer condolences and pay respects to the departed soul.
Members of the judiciary and my dear colleagues. As I stand up to pay respect to our beloved colleagues, in fact, it was so painful for me to prepare a list, and while I was preparing, it was seen that almost 23 of our colleagues have expired for a short span of time. Now, most of the colleagues, we also did not even know that some of were expired. In fact, when we had met the Honorable PDG, I think we had informed him that the list is around 10 to 14. But while preparing the list, the number just jumped up from 14 to 15, 16, 17, and finally we concluded at 23. This itself shows that we as a lawyers community, we are not having an internal bond amongst ourselves. See, today what is required is a bond amongst the entire community, which I think we are lacking to. And which is the sole reason that we, for a period of, obviously due to COVID restrictions, we could not continue with our this reference. But today, better late than never, as our colleague has already said, that we are holding a reference today. Now, due to our hectic work schedule, we also tend to forget about our own health. So, if you see the list of advocates who have expired during these last 2 years, you can see that the age of each of the advocate colleagues of ours. Now, this itself is an alarming point to all of us. I think the best way, in fact, I remember all my colleagues to be very vocal and very merciful during their arguments, during the cross-examinations, even in their social life, they were always active. But today, they are no longer with us. I think we all should remember them by adopting the lifestyle which they all have adopted and the life and dignity they have lived together. I pray to the Almighty that it grants eternal peace to all the departed souls. In fact, I also offer my grievances to the family members of all the departed colleagues, but only thing I will personally send a message to all the families myself.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I now request respected Principal District and Session Judge Tushar Aga to pay our respects.
Respected judges, all the advocates, the President of South Goa Advocates Association, Prasad Naik, Executive Committee members. Last few years we have lost many lawyers. Some of the lawyers died at a very young age. All the lawyers who have expired have contributed to the legal fraternity, to the judiciary and to the society at large. We all remember them and their valuable services. We remember, but more than us, it is their family members who remember them. Today, on this day, myself, my brother and sister judges, and all the staff members join in conveying our heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family, and we pray to Almighty to give them strength and courage in this time of grief and bear this irreparable loss. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The condolence meet ends. I look forward to meet you in better times. Thank you. God bless you all. So we are waiting for you all to leave.